Hello there. In this video, we are going to talk about ABP Web Application Framework for ASP.NET Core. It provides a complete infrastructure and to create the modular applications. It is the next version of ASP.NET boilerplate. This is one of the most successful open source .NET projects. It provides an easy to create application framework, but the people who did it saw a few shortfalls in the way while creating modular microservices. So the ABP IO is created from scratch with microservices in mind. Most of the features are ported over. You can see the parallels in the documentation and the way things are done, which are similar in ASP.NET Boilerplate and ABP Framework. If you know ASP.NET Boilerplate, you can easily get started with the ABP Framework. You can check out their website. It provides pretty good information regarding the application framework, and they also have a very good documentation available in their docs. There is also a commercial version if you are ready to pay, and it comes with the support, but we are not going to look at the commercial version. We are going to look at the open source version. And let's close this. Okay, so the best place to get started on the web application framework is clicking Get Started here. The ABP gives you two ways to create a project. You can use this Create New Project Wizard, or you can use the CLI. The CLI has a lot of options. I would prefer you go through the documentation and find out what you want. For me, I'm gonna choose all the defaults except the database. I want to use the Postgres as my database, but the default option is SQL Server. Apart from that, I'm going to use all the defaults to create the project. Okay, enough talking. Let's start coding. Before coding, you have to install the CLI. You can also directly create a project and start working from there, but I would prefer to create the project from scratch in the CLI. So to install the CLI, you can come to the CLI documentation. There is a command here, dotnet tool update -g, and follow ABP CLI. All you have to do is copy the command and then paste it. First I will clear and paste it here. I am using update command because I have already installed the CLI. If you are newly installing, please use the other command, which is .NET tool install. So now the CLI is updated for me. Now I can use this ABP new. I'm not going to use bookstore example. I will create a simple to-do applications which are easy to demonstrate. So yes, let's create a to-do folder. I will name it as to-dos, and then ABP new to-dos, and we will change the database. If you come here, this is the provider we want, and then press enter. What this will do is it will check the templates. If it is available locally, it will take it from local sources. Otherwise, it will take it from the internet and then create your solution. So yeah, your project is created successfully. Perfect. Let's close this and see what is the files created. We have a solution, we have source. Okay, let's open the solution in Visual Studio. Okay, we have a web project. The web project will have app settings. In the app settings, we can change the connection string. My database name is to-do, not to-dos. I will change the local host as localhost. Password is Postgres. The username is also Postgres. And what I will do is copy this and then change the DB connection in the migrator as well. So we have changed the connection string in the web application and also in the DB migrator. Now it's time to migrate the application and then create all the necessary tables. So if you look at the initial application, there is no migrations folder here in the DB migrator. Once you run the DB migrator will initialize the migrations for you. The DB migrator is running. The migrations are created and it's seeding the database and everything is done. Now let's check what happened to our database. Yes, we have an admin user created. This is the default admin user which comes with the ABP IO framework. If you want to know the password, go to ABP IO. There is a getting started guide for web applications, and then there's a running solution section. You come to the bottom and here you enter admin and 1Q2W3E star. That is the password. So we ran the migrations. We are going to select the to-do web and then run it. Okay, so our application is running now. You can log in and then choose admin and then the default password, and the login worked. Yes, you can see all the admin features. Perfect. Now let's log out, close this, and let's create a simple to-do entity and then create a CRUD for that to-do entity. In the domain folder, add a folder called to-do. Now let's create a class called to-do. This to-do class will be public, and then it inherits from entity with GUID as an ID. The entity to do have string as a content and bool as is done property. So we created our entity. Now we go to the DB context and then we just copy it, paste it, change it to do. To-dos. And then we have the configure, basically take the comment out. Okay. What we did here is we added the DB context, DB set for to-dos table, and then we added module creation. We just added the table name and then configured them by convention. Now the next step is to create migrations. To create migrations, you just go open the terminal, type .net ef migrate migrations added to do. Okay, so our migrations are added. Let's go and check the migrations. Perfect. We have our migrations. Now let's update the migrations. .net ef database update. Okay, the migrations are applied. So if you come and refresh here, you will see a to-do table. And if you click, you see the to-do migrations worked. Yes, added to-do is available. Now we have our to-do table available. Let's create the API for that to-do. To create API, first we need a DTO. DTO is a data transfer object. Let's create a folder called DTO and add a file called todo DTO. Todo DTO is going to inherit from entity DTO. We're not doing anything complex here. We're just going to take the DTO, we're going to take the entity and create a DTO for the entity. So I will just copy two properties from the entity, put it in the DTO, and now we will create a map for the DTO to the entity. For that, you come to the applications module, has a mapping profile. Here you can create map to do DTO. Okay, we have to include. Now we can also create the map for to-do DTO to do. Okay, so now what we can do is map to-dos to to-do DTOs and to-do DTOs to to-dos. Yes, so we have a DTO now, we created a map, and we have a to-do. Now it's time to create the controller. Here I will create to-do folder, and to-do folder will have a class called Todo App service. This Todo App service will be public, and it will inherit from Todo's app service. So this is the base abstract class, so we are using this, we are inheriting from this Todo's app service. And first let's create the method public void quit. I want to take to do. No, first I will DTO. Okay, so this create method will create the to-dos for us, but for creating the to-dos we need a repository. ABP comes with the default repository for almost all the entities. Let's try to bring that in. Let's say to do and then quit, and perfect, and you say okay, take this out so that it's not confusing. Okay, now we have a to-do repository available for us, and we have a to-do DTO coming from the user. First we have to map it to to-do, and for that we have to use object mapper map to-do DTO to to-do. To-do DTO. Okay, so now the mapper mapped, we create the to-do is equal to await to-do repository dot insert async to do. Okay, we have to make this method async so that it will not complain. And now we have a created to do, but we cannot send the entity back, so we have to map it again. Object mapper dot map to do DTO create a DTO. Okay, this is to create a DTO. Let's see if the create operation works. So the startup project, I want to see the logs, so I will run the console application and then run. Okay, the application has started. And we have a to-do post. Perfect. So I want to try out to create a to-do. To-do 1 is done as false. Execute. To-do 1 is done, and we get a ID back. Perfect. Request finished. So everything worked fine. Now we come here, we select to do, we have a to do here. Great. Now the create method is working. Let's try to create now, update the to do. Let's copy this and then call this update async, and so we basically changed the repository from insert to update, and wait, we can also write another one for delete maybe. Maybe we just need a quit to delete and an ID as well, and to do repository dot get async. There should be a get by ID async. Let's use first our default async. Is equal to ID, and make sure the to do is not equal to null, and this is not a created to do anymore. Okay, Now we will send back true if the delete is successful, otherwise we will send back false. Okay, we have a create, update, and delete available. Now we need a list operation, get all to-dos. For that, public async task lists of to-do DTO get all. In here we will go to object mapper dot map list of to-dos to list of to-do videos and wait, to-do repository dot get list async. So this will list all the to-dos. This will create a to-do, this will update a to-do, and this will delete a to-do. Okay, let's try this out. Perfect. Yes, now we have get to do, post to do, put to do, and delete to do. So get will do a get all. So I will try to get all. So there is one to do available. Now try to create a new to do. To do 2. Now let's make the is done to true and come back here and execute this again. Now we have 2 to-dos. Perfect. So this get all is working fine. Post is also working fine. Now let's try to update the to-do. Let's copy this to-do and try to update the to-do. Is done is equal to true. Okay, now come here and execute this again. Okay, now update is also working. Let's try to delete the to-do. Take the ID of the to-do 1. Come here, let's try it. Okay, it returned true. Come here, execute now. So now we have only one to do. Yes, so all 4 basic operations are running. But we didn't do anything major here. We just did most of the basic .NET Core stuff. But where does the ABP come in is that it brings in all the infrastructure to scale the development in other scenarios. So the ABP IO provides the permissions, multi-tenancy, and they create dynamic C# API endpoints, and also there is also 4 different user interface supported, and it is running identity server in the backend, so that the authentication and authorization is pretty straightforward. And it provides data filtering, so there are lots and lots of features which are buried inside this documentation. In this introduction, I just wanted to keep things simple, to create a simple Todo application with not too many things here and there. So this is a basic CRUD application. In the next video, we will check out how to add authentication and authorizations to this to-dos, and slowly build complex ways to access and manipulate to-dos, and giving permission to one user and accessing based on roles, things like that. And yeah, okay, that's it from now. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.